Sorry about that, guys. So, as I was mentioning, on this Thursday we are starting our mediumship education, our a new group to study. Is gonna be here at 7 p.m. at the FSS, and you are more than welcome. Um, as the title says, is mediumship education. It's not telling that we will be working, practicing mediumship, but try to understand a little more what is mediumship, get more educated about it, and if it's the case by the end of the course, if you guys are still interested, you can join us for the practice as well. Sorry. And I need you to. No. Sorry. Let me do this. Yeah. There you go. So on October 10th, we will have a meeting here at FSS with Cosme Massi. For those who don't know who is Cosme Massi, he is one of the idealizers or one of the founders of the Kardecpedia, which is a very nice tool to learn more about Spiritism, about Kardec. And the subject of this meeting is going to be Kardec, model of devotion and abnegation. So you're more than welcome to come. It's a free entrance on October 10th from 7 to 9, probably 7 to 8:30. But welcome, and if you have any doubts, please let us know. Alright, now we can change and do our initial reading.
So I have a question about the mediumship.
Sure.
Study. Is it from 7 to what time? And is
7
it
to 8. 7 to 8.
So it's just 1 hour and it's just
Every Thursday. Yeah.
Also every Thursday.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna
how
be
long
the
does it
first.
take
This is the introduction, so it's the launch. There are 4 meetings for introduction to explain a little more what is the course. The whole course is about 1.5 years.
Okay.
It's a long course, not.
Okay, so for 4 weeks it's just if you want to know what it
Introduction,
is,
yes.
and then if you actually want to work, and then it's a 1.5 years.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And not work, but to study, because we will go in deep. So the 4 introduction meetings are just to talk about what is mediumship very shortly, what is the course, what we're gonna do through the course, this 1.5 years. And then by the end of the 1.5 years, if you choose to stay with the team and work, practice, then there is the practice part that happens from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, after the course. Alright? No worries. So I'm bringing you a text from our lovely book, Our Daily Bread, and the title of the text is Fraternal Love. It's based in a pass from the Spirits, from the Gospel that says, "Let fraternal love remain." That's Paul, a letter to the Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 1. Family affections, blood ties, and natural affinities can be very holy manifestation of the soul when individuals raise them to the altar of the higher sentiments. However, the spirit should not fall under the weight of its personal inclinations. Balance is the ideal position. By being overly protective, countless parents cause their children harm. Due to excessive worry, many married couples descend to the caves of despair, confronted by these unstable monsters of jealousy, and destroy their happiness. Because of carelessness, Beautiful friendships end in the abysm of darkness. The above evangelical appeal, therefore, is of great importance. Pure fraternity is the most sublime of the relationship between souls. People who believe they are children of God and sincere brothers and sisters of humankind are not victims of the ghosts of spite, envy, ambition, or mistrust. Those who love one another fraternally are elated with the joy of others, and they are pleased with the good fortune that visits their neighborhood. The tumultuous affections that are common in earth pass volcanically and uselessly. In the web of reincarnation, affections change constantly. Sublime and pure fraternal love, representing the supreme objective of people's understanding, is the imperishable light that will survive on the eternal path. Let us pray. I invite you to close your eyes and remember the good things you have done this week, this past week, and the things that didn't make you so happy. And concentrate now, asking our Eternal Father to help us in here find the answers, find the sentiments that connect us to Him, that connect all the people who surrounds us, all our friends in pain, all our family in pain. Dear God, please bless them all. Bless those who struggle. Bless us for the efforts of being here today, trying to connect with you and understand your will, Father. May our meeting be essentially love and light, and with the all vibrations created here, we foster love through our week. So be it. Very well. Just pause the music, please. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for attending our meeting today. This is a meeting that's part of a sequence of 4 meetings. So we are in the 3rd, but doesn't matter if you watch the 1st and the 2nd. It's not a big deal. And the 4 meetings are based in the 4 parts of the Spirit's book. The Spirit's book's formed for 4 books, or 4 parts if you rather. And these 4 parts, Kardec constitute the Spiritist doctrine, if we want to call this way. So the first part, it talks about the spiritual, about God and our spiritual essence. Then the second part talks about the spiritual world, or world of spirits. The third part talks about the divine laws. And finally, the 4th part talks about the consequence, the blisses, and the consequence of our actions. Okay? So as we are talking about the 3rd part, we are talking about the divine laws. And the divine laws comes, why are we here? So you might ask, why, Eric, did you choose a question? Why are we here to describe the divine laws? Well, I hope we can answer this question through our meeting, but please engage me and make your comments, questions, doubts, whatever you need. Please feel free, don't be shy to talk with us. Welcome, everybody. Wow. You are the main person here today. All right.
Paying a lot of attention.
So as I mentioned, our objective today is to talk about the divine laws. All right? I will put here some questions, and are more reflective questions. So question yourself, just think about it, and let us through the meeting try to answer these questions, okay? And as well as we always invite, with these questions, analyze your answers now, and how would you feel by the end of the meeting, if anything has changed, all right? How do you feel God in your life? How is God? Or who is God, if you rather put this way? What is the meaning of the divine laws for you? Not for the others, for you. Do you know how to develop your relationship with the moral laws or divine laws? Especially the moral ones? And finally, what is the relation of the divine laws and the self-knowledge? Everybody understands what self-knowledge states, right? We're talking about not knowing exactly our skin, it helps, but knowing us as immortal spirits. All right. So, once again, our meeting is based fully in the Spirit's book, and the third part of the Spirit's book, which is called Natural Law or Divine Law. And the very first question, as you know, Spirit's book is based in questions and answers. And the very first question of this third part is, what is meant by natural law? Easy question, simple question. Would we all have the same answer? Let's see what the spirits tell us. Natural law is the law of God. Is the only law that's truly necessary for human beings to be happy. It shows them what they should or should not do, and they only suffer misfortune when they depart from it. It's a very, very deep question and answer, if we see, because basically the spirits are telling us everything that's natural law comes from God. So this is a very important tip here for us. A very important clue to understand what we are going to be talking today. The second point that they make sure it was in the question is, this law is the only way to find, or the truly way to find happiness. And if we align ourselves with this law, we will start finding some happiness. And what if we depart from it, if we stay away? Well, we will have a misfortune. Now, my question to you, is it because God is punishing us because we are not choosing to stay in line with his laws? How do you feel this? Is it God saying, you have trespassed my law, now you're gonna suffer? Is it what's written here? Is it how you feel life? Well, there is nothing to do with it, really. The laws are there since the creation to the end. They don't change. They are applicable for everybody. Doesn't matter if I'm rich, doesn't matter if I am a colored person, doesn't matter what is my origin. It's the same for everybody. But you know, sometimes we have kids at home and then we tell them, do this. This is the right thing to do. And they don't do. And then they hurt themselves. Right? Small little children like my wonderful 2.5 years old boy. Don't do that. And then he does, and then he hurts sometimes. Did I hurt him? No. What hurt him? His action, his choice to not follow what I told him to do. Yes, it's a 2.5-year-old, but now put yourselves. I am 39-year-old. No, you don't need to tell your age, but with 39 years old, I still challenge divine laws daily. And then I find a little misfortune, because it's very simple. I like to use this example. The divine laws, they're not just moral things, but are also physical things. The physics laws fall in the natural law. Is there a law called gravity out there? Right? Law of gravity? It's a physics law. Now with my 39 years old, if I decide to jump from the top of this building, is it God punishing me when I happen to reach the ground? No. It was my choice to jump from the building. The law was there. And I am fully aware of what would happen if I jump. So this is the important point about this very first question, because whenever we remain closer in understanding our relationship with these laws, we will start finding happiness. Whenever I challenge these laws, I rebel against it, I might start finding something that anybody who rebels or try to stay away from what was the right thing to do happen to have. Well, then later on, where is this law? Basically, Kardec questions. Because, okay, there is this law, where is it? Where can I find it? And the answer is one of the shortest of the Spirit's book, in the conscience. Well, down comes a little bit more responsibility, because it's not outside, it's not in a book, might be described in some books, but really is in me. It's my immortal being, my immortal soul, my immortal spirit. And then you might say, Erick, how come I don't remember it? Well, Kardec questions this, so let's see what they say. Since humans carry God's law in their conscience, why does it have to be revealed to them? Because it's in me. Well, the answer connects to the first question we thought. Because they have forgotten and disregarded, but God has willed for them to remember it. So, we have it, we depart from it. Can we start saying that, well, there is no law of gravity, and I can make my own new laws, right? But are they the truth? Are they with the truth? No. And in this process of forgetting, disregarding, is when we start hurting ourselves. And then, later on, Kardec questions, okay, if they are there, and we have everything out there to support us, is there anybody who was really in line with these laws? Like, this guy was the example of following God's laws. And that's the question 625, and it's a very, very meaningful question, because when Kardec says, what is the perfect standard? What is a perfect standard?
Perfect model. A model.
It's something, that I should model myself or should follow, right? That God has offered to humankind, us generally, as a guide and model. So there is this perfect standard for everybody to follow. A guide is someone that we should follow, right? If we're going for a hike, a very hard hike, we might need to hire a guide, so we will follow him or her through the righteous path and we won't get lost, right? And what about a model? What is a model for us?
One that represents what we want to be.
If we start modeling, let's say I'm baking some cookies, and I will try to find a model that most represents my cookies. I want to make a gingerbread man, but I have a model, right, for stars. Will I get gingerbread man? No, I will get stars, because my model is for stars. If I am trying to follow God's patterns or God's laws, I should try to find the model that is mostly in line with God's will. Does it make sense? Well, the answer couldn't be different. Look at Jesus. There are some translations that they use just Jesus. And I personally question this thing, because in the original in French, it is Vois Jésus, or look at Jesus. And this is very meaningful too, because we're not trying to create a second or a demigod or something like this about Jesus, but understand Jesus, understand Jesus' actions, understand Jesus' words. And when we talk about a guide and model, that's exactly it. Look at this standard and follow it. Basically, this is what the spirits are telling us. But a little later on, and this is question, I won't bring the full answer. This question is very important for all the spiritists. This question 627, when Kardec says, since Jesus has already taught the true laws of God, of what values are the teachings given by the spirits? So, if we have the gospel, why do we need spirits book? Why do we need the book, the medium's book? Why do we need the gospel according to Spiritism, or Heaven and Hell, or Genesis? Why do we need all these books? And it's a very important question. Do they really have anything more to teach us? What do you guys think? Does it make sense? I already have all Jesus' life, all Jesus' information in the gospel. So why do we need Spiritism? Even though Spiritism is Christian, even though Spiritism repeats Jesus' words most of the time. Why do we need it?
Because some of the teachings Jesus gave us are not clear enough, right? The way he told us them. So the spirits came to somehow translate them to something more understood by the humanity of today, right? Because his teachings were set for the eternity, in other words, right? So they were somehow codified, right?
This is a very important clue. So let's see what they say here. Jesus' teachings are frequently allegorical and in the form of parables because he spoke according to his time and place. But today, truth must be made intelligible for all. And later on in the answer, it's interesting because, pardon me, it says, we cannot pledge anymore that ignorance is a bliss, as we keep saying, usually. Ignorance is a bliss, right? So I don't need to, because I don't know, I am free from the charge. We even try to do this with the police officers when they stop us, and was running at 130 kilometers per hour, and then he says, no, you were at 130, here is allowed 110. And I know, oh, sorry, I didn't know. Yes, I did, right? Yes, I did. It's the same thing, but we keep pledging this, we don't know, or this is involve my moral or my intellectuality. But it is very important for us to understand that, yes, Jesus' parables are not the easiest thing to understand. And most of the times, spirits, such as book like The Gospel According to Spiritism, really explain in deep. They go and word by word gives us the meaning of what Jesus was trying to tell us. And in very different situations of our life. Because as we usually study here, there are circumstantial situations in our lives, which are my work, my family, everything that I do at home, with my colleagues, my friends, right? But there are also the existential things, the things that will connect me essentially as a mortal spirit with God. What I need to understand in starting to work in balance, as in the introduction text that we read before was very well stated, we need to find balance, equilibrium, if you rather. This balance is understand what my circumstantial things have in the weight of my life as the existential things. I won't just prioritize my circumstantial, and I won't just prioritize my existential, because they are connected. And if I start just moving after the existential, and then I hide myself in the top of a hill and isolate myself just to meditate, well, in the Spirit's book it's very clear. We are not helping much with one important law of God, called the law of society. We are not here to isolate ourselves. We're here to share and to learn from others as well. And in this point specifically comes this third part of the book. The first chapter is the one that we were bringing some questions, is the natural laws. The second chapter of this book is the law of worship. Is it important for us to learn how to worship? Is it important the prayer? What is the most effective prayer? How should I pray? Why should I pray? So here in this chapter of the book, Kardec and the spirits bring us very important reflections about our connection, our daily talks with God, right? Because a prayer is nothing more than a talk. If it's a talk from the bottom of the heart, it is the most effective, as it is answered there. On the third chapter talks about the law of labor. And this is a very important law, because many of us still understand that happiness is to be in Bahia, drinking some coconut water, laying down, I don't know how to, a hammock, and that is it. We're happy there. Well, unfortunately, I tell you, this is not according to the law of labor. Because if you think Jesus as a pure spirit, very evolved, and he works a lot, way more than we can understand, because he takes care of the whole planet. Each living creature, although we can't understand because we try to create Jesus now in that image of the 2,000 years ago, but here really he is a spirit, and is a spirit that has evolved so much that his spirit can embrace the whole planet, and we are in full connection with him all the time. As with God. Now God is so bigger than this, he embraced the whole universe. That's why we are always in connection with him. It's nothing to do about he is receiving our emails or our text messages through our prayers. No. As we pray, it's something good for us. That we start calming down ourselves, starts feeling his presence beside and among us. So the law of labor is very important. And mainly, there is a very beautiful text in the Gospel according to Spiritism that talks about the law of duty. All the duty we have. And as we understand what is labor, we understand there is a duty behind it. And what is this duty? So I invite you to read this information as well. Then comes the law of reproduction. Yes, because we born, live, die, and reborn. And live, and die, and reborn. And in this process, we evolve. As it is written in Allan Kardec's tomb. It wasn't written by him, but it was a very simple way to put together what Spiritism brought in 1857 to Earth. Evolution never stops. And our evolvement depends on reborn, reincarnation, having second, third, infinite chances to evolve. Okay? Then comes the law of preservation. Very important. What is our most valuable thing right now? What is our most valuable thing, guys? What do you think?
Our life.
Our lives. But our life doesn't end. So if you think yourself as immortal spirit, this is just a period of time of your existence.
That period that you have a chance, the things give to you a chance to develop.
An opportunity, yes. And in this opportunity, what do you specifically have in your hands to take care?
As an incarnated person?
Hmm?
As an incarnated
As an incarnated person, yes.
The body, probably?
Yes. Yes. This is a present of God for us to take care of it. As we don't take care of it, what is going to be happening? Our body is going to perish. And as it perishes, we are wasting a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful chance to evolve. Does it mean I will go and burn in eternal hell? No. Just means to me that I really need next time to put more effort and take care of God has lent to me right now. Okay, so the preservation, and then we're talking about us and also our brothers and sisters, because preserving life, isn't it a task of all of us? Doesn't mean if I see someone jumping from the top of the building, I will jump after to try to, because probably we'll both end up in a bad situation. But can I start helping, like as we are doing here right now, telling guys, here is what Spiritism, here is what the Gospel says about not jumping from the top of the building. Right? So preserve life. Law of destruction. We understand destruction as, for example, when we have an earthquake. God's punishing people in that area that this is not true. And it's very clear that as the earth evolves, it needs some change. As we know the whole planet right now, if you go to the Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, we can see that it passed through a lot of destruction, reconstruction, destruction, because it's the process of evolving to find the most adequate and most balanced way for life to evolve. But also talks about man's destruction, wars. Are the wars in line with God's law? For sure not. But I would like to invite you to have a look in this chapter. Talks a little more about the destruction. The law of society that we talked. Although the name of this Spiritist Center is called Fraternity Spiritist Society of Calgary, and many people misunderstand the word fraternity, because fraternity in North America might mean a group of teenagers, a group of university students that put together a group, and then they call it fraternity. Well, fraternity is a virtue from the origin of the word. And doesn't matter what we choose to call the word now. The true meaning of the word is a virtue that connects to the fraternal feeling. And the fraternal feeling, frater, from Latin, means brother. So, fraternity, live as brothers and sisters. This is the deepest understanding of the law of society. Doesn't matter if I hate that person. He is or she is my brother or sister. And I won't change that because I don't like him or her. As we do have brothers and sisters that we have better relationship or not so good relationship, we are all brothers and sisters in humankind. And understand it in deep is accomplishing the law of society. Then we have the law of progress. Everybody here will evolve. Even though I choose to rebel against the law, as we saw in the first question, and might end up suffering, I will evolve, I will progress. Now, what can I choose? And we talked about this last Monday here. I don't know if there was anybody. What can I choose? What am I gonna do during my time here? That's the choice that is earned to me. And if I choose badly what I'm gonna do during my time, I won't evolve too much. If I choose wisely, I will get closer and closer to the laws, to the truth. Okay? Law of equality. Just to remind you, this book was written in 1857, a time that equality wasn't very in line with the laws of that society. Women were seen like subhuman, weren't allowed to vote, weren't allowed to do anything. Black people were enslaved, still. In Brazil, for example, slavery was still part of. And then comes a guy called Allan Kardec talking about law of equality, that we are all equal in the eyes of God. And this is a very important point. If we wanna see ourselves as brothers and sisters, there is no way at thinking myself better than anybody that I will be feeling fraternity. Yes, some spirits have chosen to be closer to God's law and they evolve quicker, right? We can talk about Saint Francis, we can talk about Francisco Xavier, we can talk about Divaldo Franco. There is a nice movie, I didn't watch it yet, but there is a nice movie that just came released last week. Or even Allan Kardec. Yes, but they are still brothers and sisters of me. And one day I will be at the same level that they are, and one day I will get to Jesus' level. Depends on who that. Just on me. Because the way, the path is the same. Sometimes we can try to find shortcuts and then we get there eventually, but sometimes the shortcuts are very hard to deal with. Because the shortcuts we have to climb walls, and then we fall from these walls, we hurt ourselves. In the shortcuts, sometimes we pass through a path full of rocks, and I hurt my feet. Sometimes I choose to go through pathways that the sunlight kills me. Really, it's so much suffering, so much starvation. But we are all equal in the eyes of God. Doesn't matter if you are already a Jesus, a Christ spirit, or our level. Then we have the law of freedom. Have you ever heard about free will? Yeah, it's well described in this chapter of the book, and it's very important to understand the law of freedom. Once Paul said, I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for me. I can do. But if I choose wisely, is it the best thing for me? Right? And finally, the most and the ultimate law, called the law of justice, love, and charity. So let's talk a bit about the highest law. In this part of the book, Kardec questions the spirits. What would be the character of those who practice justice in all purity? And for that, I will enjoy my wonderful opportunity to talk about a triad or a trinity, and sometimes call it a triangle. What is the highest law? I'm pretty sure that most of you know. Love. What else?
Justice and charity.
Charity. And justice. This creates a wonderful triad. Kardec's questioning what are the characters of someone who reaches this level. Justice. Wow, look at the answer of the spirits. They would be truly just and would be following Jesus' example, because they would practice both charity and love towards their neighbor, without which there is no real justice. In this question, the spirits make very clear, if I want to be a fair person, a just person, there is no other way without love and charity. If my actions don't have love and don't have charity, the conclusion is simple. I am not being just. That's why these three laws are fully connected, and there is no way that we can separate them. And that's why also we should question ourselves. Always pass through these three questions about my actions. Is my action lovely? Is my action charitable? If yes, is my action justice? If I answer yes to the two first, what is for sure after reading this answer? The third question will be yes. If there is a perhaps here, maybe I is lacking of something. And then the third part, you want to be connected. So always think, am I being charitable? Am I being loving person? Or having loving actions? Going forward, and this is also a very, very important question of the Spirit's book, what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood? And the answer is very clear. It's nothing to do about just giving alms or having people who are starving given a plate of food, but this goes way beyond that. This is part of benevolence toward everyone. If I'm seeing a brother or sister suffering, the minimum expected from me is being benevolent. If I do have my plate full, share the plate. If I do have something that the other one's in need and I am not in real need of that, share. But it always goes to indulgence. And indulgence is another wonderful world that if we go to the understanding of our current society, it would be indulge yourself. Give yourself this chance of live for the ego, because that's what we love about this world, right? Live for the life of your here. But indulgence, from the origin of the world, comes through understanding the next as having imperfections as I do. If I do see my imperfections, why I keep looking at other people's imperfections as well? Can I change the other people's imperfection? What can I change? My own imperfections. And as I realize how deep it goes, I'm starting to deliver indulgence. Forgiveness. Whoever would think that forgiveness is part of charity? Forgiveness is very, very important. How can I call myself a charitable person if I hate someone? How can I call myself a charitable person if I am consumed by hatred? If I am consumed by this feeling of pursuing vengeance? There is no way to be a charitable person. So this is the invitation. Benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness are three very important virtues that connect us to charity. Now comes the reflection about self-knowledge. In the question 919, what is the most effective means for improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil? This is a very interesting question, but usually we all would like a very nice recipe to follow, right? Well, the good thing is there is a kind of recipe, but we will reflect a little more. But in the question 919, the answer for this simple question is something that you probably have already learned. A sage from antiquity has told you, know thyself, right? In the temple of Apollo at Delphi, know thyself was written out at the doors more than 3,000 years ago, and still the spirits claim us. Know yourselves, know what you're doing, know what are the feelings behind what you're doing. But still very nice, and Kardec agrees with us. Very nice question, but how can I apply it? How can I use it in my life? We comprehend all the wisdom of that maxim, but the difficulty is precisely in knowing ourselves. By what means can we do so? Does anybody know how do we know ourselves?
By making mistakes.
By making mistakes. But do we need to mistake in everything in life? No. because we can see other people mistaken and we learn from their mistakes as well, right? Or we can read books and learn, oh, there is a law of gravity and I shouldn't jump from that building because might be just the one and last time that I will jump, right? So, yes, making mistakes is important, but can I keep making the same mistake forever? No.
Learning from those mistakes.
Oh, that's an important thing. And then exactly comes this point. And this is just a piece of the answer. It's a very long answer, this one. But this was written by the spirit. The medium received the answer from the spirit of Saint Augustine. It's a very well-known spirit and helped a lot in the Spiritist codification. So let's grasp a little bit what Saint Augustine has to teach us what he used to do. Do what I used to do when I was living on the earth. At the end of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed what I have done, and asked myself whether or not I have failed to fulfill some duty and whether or not anyone might have had reason to complain about me. Wow, this is a very interesting thing. So basically he's telling, before I go to bed or before I go to sleep, I start questioning my conscience. Have I fulfilled everything that I had to do? And guys, not just put, have I fed my kids? Have I gone to work? It's way beyond that, right? Have I treated my husband nicely today? Have I been a good employee, fulfilling my duties, not stealing from the company, not using the company assets in a bad way, right? Does anybody have something to complain about me? Oh, this is a tricky one because sometimes people are unfair with us. So you have also to analyze if their complaint is fair or not, right? Those who every night would it was thus that I arrived at knowing myself and at seeing what there was in me that needed to be reformed. This is the very important point of this answer, because it's not just a matter of knowing ourselves. I can know that I have bad inclinations, that I do bad things. But can it stay just in knowing? Look, he knew and he made the effort to reform, to change. So the first step to know. The second step is really hard work, guys. There's nobody saying here that reading this answer, okay, solved the problems of my life. No. Because the second step is really, really tough. Because then I'm going to be facing myself with vices that I might have that I'm not willing to let go. And then work in these vices goes to the root of my being and it's challenging. Many times I will feel this is not for me. I can't do it. It's too big. How many of us have already said, it's bigger than me, I can't do that. It's too tough. I can't. But what he says later on, those who every night would recall all their actions during the day and would ask themselves what good or evil they have done, praying. So the first piece, all this first piece that he is saying till this comma, those is what we call watch. Jesus said, watch and pray. All these processes here is what describing what Jesus meant about watch. Watch and pray. And their guardian angels, our guardian angels, to enlighten themselves. Ask that spirit that is always trying to boost you to get there, to give you that little push that I'm in need. Yes, he is always there. And when I use he, it doesn't matter if it's he or she, it's a spirit. Right? Enlighten them would acquire great strength for self-improvement. Because, believe me, God will assist them. So, dear brothers and sisters, if you allow me to call you this way, the purpose of today is very clear. The divine laws are there and have been always there and will always be there. Our choice to understand them and start getting aligned with them, feeling them in our lives, working them in our lives, is our choice. We already have what we need in this specific moment of our existence. But we can choose to delay, we can choose pain, we can choose suffering. We either choose not to jump from the building and understand and respect the law of gravity, or I can choose to jump and suffer the consequences of the law of gravity in my life. This is what we have for today. We passed a little bit the time, but thank you very much for the time in. And next month we will have the 4th meeting talking about this sequence. So please join us. Okay? I think the kids might have something to show us. I don't know. There are lots of kids, so I don't know if we don't have enough space for everybody. Pleasure. And thank you very much for the brothers and sisters in the internet. Have yourselves a great weekend. Hello. Oh, you guys got balloons. Oh, Koresh. What color is this one?